Finally, I said triumphantly, lying down on the sofa for the first time all day. The apartment was clean to a shine. The food delivery was on its way, and I had used the last of my strength to pull myself together. Nikita promised to arrive in 40 minutes. I couldn't wait to see him. He had been away on a business trip for a month and a half. For the last couple of years, my husband hadn't been sent anywhere, but he couldn't get out of this particular trip. It felt so strange being home alone, especially in the first few days. I'm glad it's over. I hope they won't send him anywhere else, at least not in the near future. Exactly 40 minutes later, I heard a commotion in the hallway, and then the front door swung open. I rushed to my husband with joyful screams and hugged him tightly. He was also immensely glad to see me. By the way, we didn't go to bed until the 4th hour of the morning. We just couldn't stop talking. We had missed each other so much. Of course, we could have called regularly during the trip, but there were problems with the connection. Nikita called me once a week for about 10 minutes, no more, and said everything was fine. In the evenings, he sent texts, but our correspondence never lasted long, 10 messages at most. I won't even mention the internet. There wasn't any in those parts. Because of such a late bedtime, I slept until noon. My stomach growled loudly, letting me know it was time to eat. There was plenty of food left from last night. Rolls, a few slices of pizza, and a couple of salads. Nikita wasn't next to me. He was clattering dishes in the kitchen. Apparently, he didn't wait for me. Fine, we'll have breakfast together anyway. I lounged in bed for a few more minutes, then slowly washed up, and only then came to the kitchen. Nikita was sitting at the table, sipping hot coffee. "Good morning." "Good morning, sunshine," he said affectionately and smiled. Strange, the table is empty. Maybe he decided not to eat without me after all. I threw open the refrigerator and saw that all the shelves were empty. Not believing my eyes, I closed it and opened it again. The picture didn't change. "Nikki, where's the food?" I asked, bewildered. "Shoot, you just slept for a long time," he mumbled, looking down. "Did you eat everything?" "Well, yes. Listen, I don't mind, of course, but we could have eaten that all day. How did you manage that?" "I don't know. I was just very hungry." "Didn't they feed you there or something?" "Sort of," he said, looking away. I felt a bit sorry for him. What kind of conditions were those? No real connection, no internet, and they fed him junk, or didn't feed him at all. I quickly drank a cup of coffee, then went to the store and returned home with 2 huge bags packed to the brim. Nikita couldn't stop eating. He consumed food in some exorbitant quantities. Again, I don't mind, and there are indeed people who can eat that much in one sitting. But my husband doesn't suffer from overeating. Nikita regularly goes to the gym and tries to eat healthy food in moderate amounts. I might overeat if the food is very tasty, but not him. He always stops himself in time. I thought maybe this beastly appetite would disappear over time. However, contrary to my expectations, the appetite did not disappear. It remained at the same level. But then I noticed another oddity. Nikita made sounds in his sleep. And no, it wasn't snoring or talking. The sound was like a hollow growl. Dogs growl like that when they don't like something. The first night, I didn't pay much attention to it. But when the so-called growl started appearing every night, I became seriously worried that I woke him up constantly. And every time he said he felt fine and didn't understand what the matter was, or why on earth I woke him up in the middle of the night. After listening to these strange sounds for a week, I began to demand that Nikita visit a doctor immediately. But, as expected, he kept feeding me promises but was in no hurry to make an appointment. I must say, my husband is not a fan of going to clinics and hospitals at all. You could only get him there in an ambulance. So, I had no choice but to resign myself and watch further developments. A busy season started at my work, so I went to bed earlier than usual. My husband knew this and tried not to wake or disturb me. However, I am a very light sleeper, and any sound could wake me up. That night, the growl woke me up again. Only this time, it didn't sound like usual. Initially, the growling was quiet, but then it grew louder. The sound made me freeze. I wouldn't say I was scared. I was more annoyed. It felt like my husband was just playing a prank on me. "Nikita, get up," I said quietly. However, he didn't wake up. "Get up, do you hear me?" This time I said it louder and shook him by the shoulder. My husband didn't react. He still lay there with his eyes closed. And that's when anxiety crept up on me. Either he's sick or he's lost it. I had to get out of bed and go to the kitchen for water. I filled a full mug and splashed it over him. This forced him to open his eyes. But his reaction was atypical. I expected him to jump up, wipe his face, and ask what the hell was going on. But he just opened his eyes, and that was it. He didn't get out of the wet bed, didn't ask me anything, didn't rub his face. He just lay there and stared into nowhere. "Nikita," I addressed him, but there was no answer. My hands shook from fear, and tears involuntarily ran down my cheeks. I quickly turned on the light in the bedroom, sat next to him, and shook him until he finally came to his senses. "Dasha, what's wrong? Why did you wake me up? Can't you sleep? Man, why is it so wet?" He spoke sluggishly, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Are you out of your mind?" He stared at me blankly, and then I couldn't hold back and told him everything that had built up. "What is happening to you? Your stomach isn't a stomach, it's a bottomless barrel. A normal person can't eat that much. And you're damn growling at night. It's not normal. Do you understand? And now, when I splash cold water on you, you didn't even get up. I don't understand," I said, covering my face with my hands and crying, either from fear or from exhaustion. "Dasha, come on. Don't cry. I was just sleeping soundly, that's all." "No, it's not all. Promise me you'll go to the doctor." "I promise. I'll definitely go. This week. If you don't go and leave everything as it is, I'm filing for divorce. Do you understand me?" Of course I understand. Don't worry, I'll go. You'll see." The week came to an end, but my husband never went to the doctor. He said the boss wouldn't let him go, and on weekends only private clinics were open, but he wouldn't go to those because they were too expensive. I endured it, gritting my teeth, while systematically nagging him. I didn't want to divorce him. I love him, after all. So I put up with all the inconveniences until I found strange spots on my husband's body. One day he was taking a shower and apparently didn't notice me enter. He was standing with his back to me. His entire back was covered in dark brown spots. In everyday life, this was quite hard to notice because he wore a t-shirt at home and we went to bed at different times. "What's wrong with you?" My question made him drop the shower head. "What are you doing here?" he asked fearfully. "I just wanted to wash my hands," I stammered. He snapped and started screaming. "Get out of here." "Nikita, you out," I said. My brain refused to believe what was happening. He had never screamed at me or talked to me in such a tone. In our whole life together, we had only argued once. When the realization of the situation finally hit me, I went to the kitchen, locked the door, and cried loudly. What is happening between us? A terrible thought struck me. He definitely caught something on that trip. But what if someone infected him? There are infections transmitted sexually. Maybe some local woman infected him and now he's afraid I'll find out. Or maybe he even has a mistress. We didn't talk for the rest of the day. I was simply hollowed out. He ate like a pig, as usual. But that evening, we had another fight. I walked into the kitchen and saw a mess. An empty bread bag, dirty plates, and Nikita sitting there staring at the wall. I would have left him alone, but a bottle of yogurt in his hand was slowly spilling onto his pants and the floor. How much longer? Have you completely turned into an animal? Why are you eating if you can't hold it? I screamed as loud as I could. He didn't care. He kept staring at one point. I snatched the bottle, threw it in the sink, and slapped him hard. He immediately came to life, grabbed my wrists, and squeezed them so hard that tears came to my eyes. "Let go, it hurts." I squeaked. Nikita just squeezed harder. "Nikki, what are you doing?" I whispered, looking into his eyes. What I saw made me speechless. Malice. He was literally incinerating me with his gaze. I felt a fear so strong I wanted to curl into a ball. I thought he was going to kill me. Suddenly, his look changed to confusion and fear. "Dasha," he said blankly. "Are you completely insane?" I yelled and locked myself in the bathroom. It seemed divorce was the only way. I didn't know what this was or how to fight it. For several days I struggled with myself. Divorce seemed logical, but what if he needed help? What if it was more serious than it seemed? It was clear he was hiding something. I decided to check his phone. He had started hiding it everywhere, taking it to the shower, the toilet, even under his pillow. Last night, Nikita fell asleep earlier than usual and forgot to hide the phone. I had once caught his password, so I unlocked it easily. I didn't find a girl. Instead, I found a curious chat with about 50 people. They were discussing how productively they spent the day. I thought it was a new job, but the more I read, the more horrified I became. They were talking about planting something in newcomers. They spoke of new forms of life that must be recognized to save humanity from the end of the world. What was this gathering of madmen? I wanted to wake him up, but I couldn't. Something was happening to his body, like a hand pushing his stomach from the inside. Suddenly, he sat up like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings, eyes closed, swaying back and forth. My inner voice told me not to touch him. The skin on his stomach began to stretch strangely, and then something long moved inside. It was truly disgusting. The skin couldn't take the tension and burst. Blood sprayed across the bed. From my husband's torn belly, a hand appeared, then another. I sat there with my mouth open as something literally crawled out of him, as if he were a cocoon. The creature shed Nikita's skin. It sat there, hunched over. Its face was covered in deep wrinkles, with holes instead of a nose and black pits for eyes. Suddenly, 2 red dots appeared in the pits, its eyes. It stared at me. My body acted on its own. I jabbed my long, sharp fingernails directly into the creature's eyes. It howled, and I ran for the door, grabbing my keys and locking the monster inside. Loud bangs came from the apartment, but soon went silent. Neighbors called the police. I was in hysterics. Nikita, naturally, was dead. They suspected me because I was standing in the hallway in my nightgown, covered in blood. The thing had vanished. However, I was released when certain circumstances came to light. The investigator told me they found the sect. These people prayed to an ancient life form and performed sacrifices, planting parasites into humans. 4 people had been planted. 2 were found. In my case, the thing escaped through the bedroom window. It's still out there somewhere, hiding. But how long can it hide without hurting anyone else?